All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're expecting everybody to trickle in. So welcome everybody. Thank you for coming out. I know the weather is really sucky. Everybody wants to go home and get in their bed, but thank you. And hey to our distance students. So I guess I'll just introduce Dr. Sanders. She's our first person in our career path lecture series. So we're hoping to kind of do these again. So yes, I will turn it over to Dr. Sanders.
Well, hello everyone. I do have a PowerPoint here. Let's see, just for a little, just a few slides. Not many. Well, thank you again for being here on a nice winter evening. Some of you might, hopefully, I know, Gwendolyn's probably in a warmer location. So, just a little bit about who I am. Maybe if this works. Maybe.
I can switch.
No, it's fine. I think I can. There we go. So I just want to kind of start off with a few definitions about my background and some of the work that I do. I am trained as a designer, and I am a designer at heart. I do a lot of other things. I do less designing these days. Designing curriculum, I would guess, designing programs, designing a department, things like that. But, as a designer, I've worked with couture, one-of-a-kind type clothing. I have created wearable art. I'm a fiber artist. I do a lot of textile design work. And then a designer that has worked with ready-to-wear. So it's been a part of my life as long as I can remember, practically, and just built upon family heritage too. So I think there's a lot of parts of life that are fate, but also there's also conscious decisions or sometimes unconscious decisions. I laugh when I look back at some of the presents that I received as a child. A little toy sewing machine, a little hand crank knitting machine, things like that. That I was very young, that probably did have an impression on my life. I also had at an early age a strong background in food and nutrition. So I also got a lot of toys that were food related and baking, cooking related too. And so it's funny now, full circle, in an apartment like this. And some people will say, oh, God, that apartment is such a strange mix of, items. So, and it's like, oh yeah, I get it. There is a lot of interdisciplinary and cross connections across the department that we're starting to explore this year, which is fun. My education has all been in design, except for my, I have an Associate of Arts degree, and it was basically a liberal arts, Associate Arts degree, but all my other degrees have been design related. So actualizing design, so I'll talk a little bit about that. Global design inspiration and designing a business. I am a business owner. I can't say I'm a good business owner these days because a little bit consumed with Iowa State. That's my first business. So, but I do have a small business. And then just some advice for the design and merchandising students, I would say. I really see them interrelated. Kind of my life statement, and it does really relate to my work also. I'm a stitcher. I like to stitch in a variety of ways. I like to stitch on the machine, by hand, stitching people together, making connections with people. When I applied for this job, I talked about being a builder, which I think is also can be related to being a stitcher. Really bringing groups of people together, supporting people, supporting programs, building programs. As a designer, I love a variety of processes. I love that process of taking yarns and fibers and then creating another structure out of them. I just have joy out of that. Yesterday, I was in Chicago the last few days for hospitality conference, and on the way back, we went through Galena, Illinois, which is a cute little town that has a nice little downtown, little shops and everything. And they had a yarn shop, and so I added to the museum. My partner asked me, what are you gonna do with these? I'm like, well, just you remember the prices and all of these, and think about this, something happens to me, and we'll go to the museum. It's really valuable, and just, yeah, when he offered to buy one of them for me, that was, kind of pricey. He's like, wow, yeah. But I do love yarns. This was me, a lot younger, a lot cuter. Long time ago. I started out, some of you may have heard this, but I was a premature baby. So I turned 50 years old this year, big milestone. And so 50 years ago, being premature was really, really risky. And my mother had what's called preeclampsia now. Back then they called it toxemia, but it's basically your body is holding fluids in. Oftentimes it happens in your feet, and women that are pregnant, that happens in their feet. For me, for my mom, it happened in her brain. And so she woke up one morning literally blind. And she's, organized, got her life together. She had the doctor's telephone number and information taped underneath the telephone in the house. And so she, told my dad, Leon, I can't see. Be calm. Why don't you go over to the telephone, lift it up, there's doctors. Like, oh my goodness. And I think, my dad didn't handle, stress as well as my mother did. But he did, at least he listened to her and followed the instructions and did what he was supposed to do. But I had caused, a lot of havoc on her poor body as she was trying to have me. So she was on bed rest. I ended up coming 2 months early. And so when I was born, I was only 3 pounds, 13 ounces, and I had to stay in the hospital for a whole month in an incubator for them to get me strong enough to be able to breathe on my own and all of that. In the process, they had talked to my mom about ending and terminating the pregnancy, just basically to save her life. And she said no, and she took that risk. And I'm forever grateful to her. So every time I have her birthday, I just always thank my parents for taking that risk with me. Other aspects, some people think I'm probably a little impatient. Yeah, I needed to get here. There's things that need to be done 2 months early. Got to get them done. So, so that might be a personality flaw. Another issue I have, I didn't crawl. I just tried to walk. Had a lot of falls. I think my dad thought I was going to kill myself because literally I just decided, and this was at 1 year old, I just decided I needed to just try to walk. Yeah. So who knows what that says? I'm sure that there's some psychological theories out there that explains. So my parents are from South Carolina, so I have Southern roots. My father was from the Charleston area, but inland a little bit. So in this area, the Somerville, Goose Creek, there's a small little town called Cross, South Carolina, that I call it Sandersville and Aikenville because this is like mainly my family there. Farmers, about 250-acre farm. My grandmother had a business too. She had a small grocery store. And so in the summers, we'd go back periodically about every 3 or 4 years. So at that time, when I was growing up, people didn't travel as much. And when we did travel, we stayed for, a period of time to spend time with them. My mother is from Anderson, which is right here. It's right next to Clemson, basically. And so my parents were both ends of South Carolina, didn't meet each other until they were in Columbia for college. Oh, they didn't meet, they didn't meet each other until they got to Colorado. They both went to Columbia for college. My dad had graduated, my mom entered right after that. And they had gone to New York at one point, had gone to Florida. My mom always after my father, so I told her, yeah, you just like chased them across the U.S. or something. But they met in Colorado. So just a little bit of a journey. Finally met there. In Colorado, I grew up. A lot of people think Colorado, mountains and skiing, right? Well, Colorado has a mountain range right down the middle of it here, where my cursor is going, and hopefully those of you online can see that. Should we dim the lights a little bit? A little bit. Oh, thank you. And so from like between, well, right about where the R is, right, a little right to the right of the R is mountains this direction, flat land here. Looks like Kansas and Oklahoma over here. I grew up here. And so very flat farming, wheat farmers, alfalfa, things like that, cattle, a very, very rural community, 8,000 people. I was born in Denver, though, and my dad was with the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA. And so he was the first Black county supervisor in the state of Colorado, and it might have been the US too. He then later became state director. He was the first Black state director for the agency. So we spent most of our time down here. This is where I grew up, like age 5, through community college. Spent a lot of time in Denver and also in Fort Collins because I was a 4-H member. And then before I moved to Iowa, I was in Fort Collins, which is just north of Denver, up in this area. Well, there I am. That's where I was. Right there. This is my great grandmother. She taught my mom how to quilt and how to crochet and sew. So this is my lineage on how I got to where I am because of her. My dad's side of the family, my dad here, the oldest of 9. My aunt is the youngest. This woman was determined to get her daughter. So I had all of these people before she got her. My dad passed away about 3.5 years ago now. Miss him a ton. But grew cotton, grew corn, real textile background. This is my grandmother and my grandfather on my mom's side. He was my mom's stepfather, but I considered him my grandfather, only person I knew as my mom's dad. And Minnie Rucker was just quite the fashionista. I blame her for some of my obsessions. Shoes, clothes, jewelry, accessories, yeah. She passed away about a year before my father did. And so I cleaned out her house, got a lot of her clothing and things too. And my grandfather worked in a textile mill. He was a custodian. So had a lot of textiles were in our family, yeah. My dad, he also, fun story, he worked in the New York garment district one summer. I was on my way to Beijing to teach, and I was in the airport, and I was talking to him, and, oh no, I was on my way to Taiwan. That's where I was at, or Thailand to teach, and I was talking to him. I hadn't known this. I mean, yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I spent a summer working in the garment district. I didn't have been in New York. I didn't know what he was doing, and Sorry, I guess I didn't ask. And he was like, oh yeah, I work in the garment district in the laundry. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. And then my mother, who will be here tomorrow. So after this, I'm going home to frantically clean my house because I, buy some food and things like that. She made this coat. Notice the matching plaids all the way across. Yeah, matching here, yeah. Yeah, she believes that the inside of clothing should look as good as the outside of clothing. So, yeah. She's a quilter, a crocheter, just one of my 4-H leaders. She did fire me as a 4-H member for a while because, the terrible teens, emotions, screw up a sewing project, maybe throw a tantrum and stuff, so yeah, she's like, meh. But really, just a gem too. My little sister, she just finished up a stint as VP of HR with University of Kansas Medical Center. She also has a PhD and is also an excellent designer and seamstress and was part of the company where we had it working. And then this is my oldest nephew, enjoying some textiles there too. He won a powerlifting contest last 2 weekends ago in Denver, was named Colorado State champion, his first contest. Yeah, from this, cute little baby to this guy that's bench lifting, pressing all types of stuff. So, and then this is just, I've been knitting, crocheting, and sewing for just years. Probably started around age 7 or 8. It's a love for it. So, just some examples of different work from undergrad, college years, like that. Just have a lot of work on our student fashion show. This is my thesis, our master's thesis. It's based on Art Deco motifs, and they're all hand knit garments. Mentors, believe in mentors. These are some of the faculty I worked with at University of Nebraska for my PhD. Just amazing individuals. I felt like I was at a rock concert the whole time. I just hung on to every word that they said. Some more work while I was in Nebraska, some work that I did. Really wanted to re-explore my fiber art because I'd been working in the industry ready to wear in denim, which I love that too, but wanted to refocus on that. And then my dissertation, many of you know, it was on African American female slave narratives and the meaning of dress in 10 narratives that we studied. So, and then this is just some close-ups of some work that from my years as a professor. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll open it up for the oral prelim part of all the questions. They were joking earlier that this is like an oral prelim, and they have questions for me, so now I'm ready to drill. Any questions?
I just have a small question. So, because when I see your presentation, you have your story, and you can have some kind of really cohesive story on yourself. But right now, I try to find some my research area, but also I want to have some design.
Oh yeah, that balance. Yeah.
So how could you make some balance? So you also each student, grad student, and also you do have your own research about design. How could you organize them to be in a story?
Well, that's a good question, and part of you'll notice if you look at my career that I do have the social psychology part of my work, my scholarship, my scholarly work. And that was because when I was working on my dissertation, it wasn't a time when I could do a creative dissertation. I was, it was not something that was happening then. So I did really dive into the social psychology of appearance. And it took a while. I mean, I spent a lot of time with my advisors, probably a whole semester, discussing topics and ideas and exploring that. I was fortunate, at Colorado State that they were very supportive of creative scholarship. And so then I kind of went back to that while I was there. This has been a nice balance here at Iowa State to be able to do some of both. And that's been really, really good. But yeah, it takes some time. It really does take some time to, explore the right aspects. I just suggest that you also follow what you love to do, and whatever you choose, be really passionate about it. During parts of my career, I did have people say, "Oh, you need to just focus, and you need to be a specialist." Especially when I came out of school, there really wasn't a lot of interdisciplinary research happening. People were specialists and really just focused on one area. But now we do, interdisciplinary is important. It's a way to answer big questions. I work on research teams of textile scientists and the department historians, social psychologists. You need teams of individuals to really be able to answer some of the big questions that are happening in the world. And so for me, it worked out really well, because I do know at some points during my career, people probably thought, "Oh, she is a scattered, she's just doing some of everything." And yeah, I do, dabble in a lot of different things, but and maybe I could be even more productive if I was a specialist and wasn't having to. I mean, one semester I had 4 grad students that graduated. One was interviewing Broadway costume designers. One was designing and had a textile science component to her dissertation, plus was designing clothing based on principles of Chinese philosophy. I had another one that was doing a textile science piece based on digital textile printing. And then another one that was working with the laser cutter and doing some mathematical equations for laser cutting. So for me, to even work with them, I had to spend a lot of time prepping for meetings, or as they were writing up their findings, and I'm like, okay, I'm digging in the literature. So yeah, I would have gotten a lot more sleep if everyone was just doing slave narratives and that's it, or working in feminism or just design processes. But it was really rewarding. I think that's the part of the joy of academia, is constantly being able to learn. And so, I feel like I'm still a student in many ways, and someday I'll graduate, maybe in another 20 years. Yeah, thank you for asking that.
I have 3 questions for my question.
3? Okay, and I'm sorry, I forgot to to tell you what the question was. I'll remember to do that. Okay.
The first one is, what do you think of professional? What do you think of professional for? How can you be professional?
Oh.
And another one is, what do you think the requirements of the standards for students in PhD degree journal, and if we are becoming a researcher in the future?
Okay. Good.
The last one is how to please share some tips how to improve productivity.
Oh, productive. Okay. I'll start with the first one. How to be a professional. So the question is how to be a professional. I think the first thing is to show up and be completely present. Be really present, listen, participate. and be fully engaged. I think we see oftentimes people not engaged in wherever they are and being in that moment. So I think being there, not on the phone all the time, and I'm in some administrative meetings, and I see people on their phone during the meeting, and so I think that's part of it. Taking responsibility, following deadlines, getting things done on time, and if you can't, communicating that you can't do that. Connecting with people, that's really important too, and reaching out to people. I mean, I think something that we don't talk about always too as a professional. So I think there's sometimes the sense that professional, you're just like out there for yourself, and but to give back, I mean, that's part of being a professional and closing that loop is supporting your peers and colleagues. Like one thing I've been really fortunate, and in some programs I've been in at the beginning, there's a bit of competition among peers or colleagues, and that just doesn't really work well in the world. I mean, we really need to be collaborative with our cohorts and work together. And I can tell you, sharing what I know or what I've done has never professionally hurt me, to share what I know. And sometimes you will be in situations where professionals are like, well, I'm only give this much information, or I'm only going to share this much, or I'm going to be really competitive and cutthroat. It doesn't. In the end, you might see people seem like they have an advantage for a while, but in the end, I haven't seen it really work. So I think being collegial, working with people, bringing people along with you, I think is a huge part of being a professional too. So okay, and then your second one was.
The requirement and the standard for the students in our PhD journey.
And our PhD program. Okay. So the requirements and the standards for students in our PhD program. I think that, again, that collegiality part of it, the PhD program, our graduate program, was what really drew me here. I was not looking for a job. I was not looking to leave Colorado. It wasn't, but looking at our program, the prestige of it, the type of people that are graduating out of it, the faculty in the program, and also the collaborative nature. This is one of the first programs that you would notice people presenting at ITAA where faculty were presenting with our graduate students. And so I think one of the standards is, again, showing up, working hard, collaborating with your colleagues, with various faculty members, trying to just soak it all in, and just giving it your all. That's what I feel our standards are. When I'm working with students, and a lot of you, your advisor, have been on your committees, and I always suggest that you try to make sure that you're presenting at some conferences, that you, if you're publishing, that you try to publish an article, try to do a jury presentation, that you submit something to a juried exhibition, that you do that. And it's really has helped our graduate students as they're out there in the marketplace. But being collaborative, literally, that was one thing, the grad program, and just noticing that, okay, people are collaborating, and it's a variety of people. Sometimes, people that, it's not just like the textile scientists, people are working together on a project, or it's just the historians working on a project. It's just the psych people, you see, or the merchandisers just working together. You see this cross, and that our grad students are folded in to the research. So I think, and then the last one is
how to improve productive.
Oh gosh, I wish I had an answer to that. Jeez. Productivity. There's so many different models for it, and I think You know, there's times in my personal life I feel much more productive than I am, or I'm not as productive as I'd like to be, you know, or so that's subjective. And it goes in waves too. I think, you know, there's some projects that are going to take a little bit longer, a little bit more time to invest in. And I think as you mature in your career, you'll start to realize that, oh, geez, some of this, you know, it takes a little bit longer to get it right. And then other things you can get done quickly. I think finding the right system for you is important. And, you know, and also as you grow too, you'll sometimes find, you know, my own personal system works well for me, but then if I'm working with another group, yeah, sometimes that doesn't just completely translate. Like if you're a list maker, you just can't expect everyone that you're working with to be a list maker. And you know, that's something I'm working with right now is the productivity and the organization of our main office is finding the right systems for that too. And making sure that, you know, people are on the same page, that they have the skills to adopt those, and what are the systems and that organization. But I think, you know, also having balance is important too. You know, you just can't work 24/7. You really can't. You have to have those breaks, get refreshed, and then go back to it. You know, sometimes I don't do that as well as I should, personally, but sometimes I do. I mean, sometimes I just have to just sit there and lay there and just, you know, have some time off. Go watch a movie. You know, go do something fun. Go take a walk. When I was in graduate school, one thing I used to do was work out a lot, and that was really a great balance for me. I write like mad, and then go work out, go write like mad some more, and that was good. Now I watch Lifetime movies sometimes, that's Hallmark movies, and I cry. You know, the Hallmark channel, you know, because they have the holiday ones and the Valentine's Day ones and stuff, you know. So sometimes that's my guilty pleasure. You know, USA Network running in the background sometimes as I'm working on things and watching, you know, Law and Order and NCIS, things like that, having going on. But you do have to have that balance, because if you do just try to push through, you're going to burn out. You're going to burn out. And you don't want to do that. Yeah, good questions. Did I answer them okay?
That's all.
Okay, do I pass? Any other questions?
What motivates you to work?
What motivates me? The question is, what motivates me to work? Yeah, I'm gonna pay my bills. No, no, it's not just that. You know, it's funny. I never intended to go into academia. Never. I was even kind of like snarky and kind of smart aleck about, and you know, just sarcastic about it when I was an undergrad. My mom would say to me, "Oh, I think you'd make a good, you know, teacher or professor, and you know, then you know, when you get to 40, you could possibly, you know, think about, you know, then starting your own business." And I would just look at her like, you know, 40. Wasn't life over then? I mean, I was in my 20s. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm like, I gotta wait that long to start my career. Well, you know, I should listen. You know, I did, you know, start my business earlier, but, you know, the joy of academia is the people. I mean, it really is the people. Working with students and that time, interfacing. I mean, I learned, you know, a ton all the time. Like the past weekend, I was at the National Society of Minorities in Hospitality conference, and I was with students that I had, you know, seen them in the tea room, had, you know, said hi in the hallways and things, but hadn't really spent time with them. You know, we were there for 4 days, and it was just fabulous to get to know them more and what their dreams are. and then being able to support people. So that's, you know, that's always the joy, and that's what motivates me. And, you know, my colleagues too, I'm at a time in my career now. I mean, I'm a full professor and endowed full professor. I mean, the other ranks, I mean, there's like, you know, there's a few other, you know, things that, you know, I could be named as, you know, down the road, possibly. You know, and, you know, department chair. So now it's just a fun thing too, is that I get to work with younger faculty. And I mentor faculty, you know, here and in the department and some at other universities too. And so also helping, you know, them, you know, providing advice, support, things like that. I mean, that's the fun part of it. You know, I don't, you know, honestly, I mean, I do enjoy the research and doing that. I mean, I don't have to like be pumping out, you know, 6 and 7 things a year as in the past, but helping others get to where they want to be is really the fun part. Professionally, you know, when I get those emails or calls, I, you know, bought my first house, I bought my first car, you know, I got my first job, you know, that's the fun thing. So that's what motivates me, I'd say. Mm-hmm.
What are some hard truths that you learned that we should know about academia and teaching?
Oh, some hard truths? Okay, the question was, what are some hard truths that I've learned about working in academia or industry? I mean, I love both, and I mean, probably one of the funnest times of my career was when I was in my master's program, and I was teaching, taking classes, and also working in industry. Because when I got sick of one place, I was at another place because every other day. I was, so that was fun. I would say in both. You know, you hear about the fashion industry, that it's just cutthroat and people are mean and not helpful, and that was not a truth that I experienced. Yeah, I mean, there's some divas out there, and, you know, but that's everywhere. I think for me, part of the hard truth with academia was realizing that it was much more political than I realized, and you know, and I was like, oh, so that was, and in industry as a designer, the knockoffs, like, oh my gosh, you like knock off everyone? Oh, good grief! And we knocked off our own brands, our own lines within the company. One of the companies I was with, did my internship with. I was like, wow, okay, and so that was surprising to me. But then just the politics within academia, and I'm still learning that. I tell you, you know, every day is very political, and so you have to, you know, learn to navigate that. And I think having mentors that you can trust, and I can tell you, I have been so fortunate with my my team of mentors. I mean, it's not just one. I have a bunch of people I have on my cell phone that I'm can text or call, and like, what is this? You know, what is that? What am I? You know, so. And when I was applying for this job, yeah, I was on the phone with a lot of people, asking questions, getting advice, things like that. And I've had some mentors that have been with me from, yeah, undergrad. That, you know, has just supported me all the way through now. So it's, yeah, it's important. So hopefully that answered.
I have a question. Speaking about mentors, like, okay, so I think probably all of us have mentors or somebody that we talk to in that way. But us as graduate students, how do we reach out to undergrad students and be like, can I mentor you? Like, can we do that?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and mentoring, it's interesting. The question was, you know, how do you reach out to like undergrads to mentor, or other students to mentor, or individuals to mentor? I mean, sometimes it doesn't have to be like a complete formal. You know, mentoring, it's really about a relationship. I've been in some mentoring situations or some like leadership programs, like, okay, we're going to assign you a mentor. You you need to meet with this person, every month. And, you meet, and it's like, okay, I don't know you. You don't know me. Okay, okay, we'll eat and have our salad and soup, and we'll talk, and it's awkward, and that's fine. But then, I find that the best mentor relationships really grow organically, and it could be either direction. Now I have one mentor, Antigone Katsiopoulos, she was a merchandising faculty at Colorado State. And I remember it was after the first year I was there, and I had items in the student fashion show. And she walked up to me, and I was scared to death of her because I had that summer before, or maybe it was a couple summers before I knew I was going to go to Colorado State, and that's a long story. I decided to stay home because I'd been traveling a lot. But I had been up there, and this is when you could post grades outside your office door. There used to be a time where you could put people's social security number and their grade and post it on the wall. I mean, thank goodness all that has stopped. And practically their name and part of their name too. I mean, there was no privacy. So she had her grades posted outside of her office, and there was like 2 A's, and I was like, I was just like nervous about it. So then when I got to school there, she was I think she was assistant or associate department chair at that time. She later became department chair, and she was glamorous, and she stopped me in the hallway one day and said, if there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know. And I was like, thanks. I got really honored, because like I was, still scared to death of her. I was like, gosh, and I ended up taking, a class from her. It was like an independent study class of, reading like tons of journal articles. And she became a mentor of mine, but it's just putting yourself out there. And then sometimes, if there's someone that you see, you just ask them out for like a cup of coffee. I have mentors, and sometimes, you want to approach someone, but you don't, sometimes you go to them, can you mentor me? That might be a little bit loaded question too, like, can you mentor me? And I'm globbed onto you for life, and now you're responsible for every success that I have. I mean, it might just kind of come off that way. So sometimes you're just asking someone. There's individuals on campus here that are in administrative positions that I've, like, oh, can I have lunch with you? Oh, you need to get there. And then, it eventually works out. Sometimes it hasn't worked out, and we have lunch, and they check in on me periodically, and I view them as mentors, but it's not a formal work. Like, I think I told one of them on a panel I was with this person. I was like, well, yeah, you're my mentor. And they're probably like, oh yeah, okay, I know now after 5 or 6 years, but so I think there's ways to approach it that and you are forming a mentorship, but it's not either person saying like, you need a mentor, I'm here for you. You know what I mean? Because some of that you're like, oh well, thanks. You're like you might need a mentor, but so approaching a variety of ways, cups of coffee, tea, food, that's always a good way to connect with people. So. Any questions online?
I have a question.
Okay.
And again, my internet's a little slow in case I cut out. But I was wondering what advice you have for those of us who are newly on the job market.
Oh, those of you that, good question.
Yes.
Advice for those of you
Okay.
on the job market.
Yeah.
Connect, brand yourself, LinkedIn. I believe in portfolios for everyone, regardless of what your discipline is. If you can have a website, and even just make a website on like Wix, or you can do it for pretty cheap. Just get yourself out there. Make sure you kind of know who you are, what you're looking for, and brand yourself across social media. Because even though every place is going to say, "Oh, we're not going to check your social media out," they are. And they're also looking, to see. So one thing you might notice, last year when I was applying for this job, all my social media pictures changed to the same one. It was the same picture of Eulanda that was taken outside of here. My resume, my letterhead, everything had the same circle. I just branded, I was really thoughtful about all of that. Google yourself, see what's out there. If there's something that's strange or you need to try to get rid of it. I don't know how you get rid of that, but try, I guess. But know what's out there because people will be looking at that. Talk to your mentors, talk to your references, ask people if they're willing to be your reference too. Make sure that they have a copy of your resume and cover letter, job description that you're applying for, so they have and they know what you're looking for. Also think about what you want, and because you're also interviewing places. I've had a lot of students that have applied for jobs, and I always really encourage that you interview the place too, because you're going to spend a lot of time. I mean, I've been here today since 7:30. Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time here. I better like the people and the environment and the culture of where you're working. I mean, that's just really, really important. And use your network and your mentors too to kind of fill out, because they might have some background knowledge. A lot of times I'll sit down with students and they're applying someplace, kind of look, like, well, okay, there's this person, and this is their background, this is their philosophy and things like that. So, but also think about the type of place you want to work. Because there's so many different types of academic programs, especially if you're going to go into academia. I mean, there's community colleges, there's teaching institutions, there's research institutions, there's Ivy League, there's private. I mean, they all have different things that they're looking for. But then just, getting yourself prepared, ready. Think about, really showing detail within your cover letter and examples, and also with your CV, your resume, that you have, show some real examples of what you've done. And then think about, what you can bring to the organization, what skills you have that can help that organization. So you have to do a lot of homework. I mean, every job I've applied for, this one actually was a little bit easier when I applied for the department chair, a little bit, with the research part, because luckily I, had done a lot of that previously. But when I was applying for my job with Iowa State before, I would get home from work about this time, 7, 8 o'clock. And then it was like having another job applying for a job, because I was like digging through all, the university's websites, looking at the strategic plan, the governance document, faculty handbook, what is the mission, because I want to make sure I aligned with the university too. I mean, they were saying, we only like people that wear yellow clothing all the time. That's just a crazy example. I would have, I wear black most of the time. I would not have fit well. It would not have fit with my values. So, making sure I do that research too. I looked at our department website, which, we're still working on, which I couldn't find hardly anything on. We're working, that's being worked on right now. But, really trying to understand, and then making sure I aligned well, and then my letter of interest, showed that too. When I went on my interview, when I came here, one, just trying to be relaxed about, I was in a different situation because I already had a job, so I was like, oh, okay, this works out. It's great. If it doesn't, let's go back to work on it, but, I know that, that's not always the situation, but just having yourself well prepared, knowing who you're interviewing with, really knowing who you're interviewing with, doing the research on them. So I was looking at people's resumes. I like to look at people's resumes and CVs. I collect them. They're out there. Courtney's laughing. She's like, God, what a nerd. For a good time on a Friday night, I'm out there searching CVs and reading them and studying them. Yeah, that's true. But, I do, and so, knowing, who you're interviewing with, who the hiring party is, looking at their CV, kind of understanding what they value, how they put things together. But yeah, I have a list of CVs of different administrators, and I've looked at them, see how they present work. So spending that time really studying and understanding and then having a lot of people proof and read and give you feedback on your letters and your portfolios or resumes, CVs, all of that. So it's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Dr. Sanders, can I have a question?
Yes.
My question is that what is your advice at the stage of hiring in a department? I mean that reading the handbook of the department or maybe college or university can help us to somehow protect ourselves. Because I know that at the stage of hiring, at the first time, you should be active, but on the other way, you should protect yourself somehow and know about all the rules. So what is your advice at the stage of hiring?
Yes. So the question is, what is your advice at the stage of hiring? And this is where you're really negotiating with, the department chair. And please, none of you ever use this against me. Because I might be looking for a job from one of you someday. So just, but I'm serious. You never know. But get the faculty handbook. Get the rules. If you're working for a corporation, if you can get a hold, working, public institution is a little bit easier. But if you're working for an organization and they have some rules and some guidelines on how you're going to be evaluated, ask them for that. Ask them to share that with you. If you can't find it on their website, or if it's on the website and it's like 10 years old, ask for the latest. I did when I applied here. And I went through it and asked questions. I probably drove Dr. Bosselman crazy because I would email him questions back and forth. Make sure that anything you want, that you have it in writing too. And have someone else look at that too. Another set of eyes. Don't try to negotiate on your own. I can tell you, my contracts were looked at by several other people, both of them. Yeah, especially that first one when I came here. Before I signed it, it was looked at. So really, finding out what are you going to be evaluated on, and what are those measures, and then get things in writing. Because people will, sad to say, and even in academia, people will promise you the world. I've watched some people out there like, they promised me that they were going to give me this or that, and I never got it. So making sure that you get it in writing and ask the handbook, the governance document, evaluation forms. We have annual evaluations. I'm completing annual evaluations on faculty now. So what do those forms look like? And for example, we currently we have what are called a position responsibility statement, and everyone says 2 outputs per year. What's an output? Well, I did ask that about 6 or 7 years ago, and so now we're defining what an output is, because people are being evaluated on that. We have a list of things, but a refereed presentation at a professional conference is not going to count the same as a publication. So being very clear with people on how they're going to be evaluated, and asking those questions yourself. And then also calling up other people. If you know other people who have worked for the institution or know people that work for the institution, call and ask. Because I can tell you, when I applied the first time here, I called Marilyn Danhorst and we had a conversation. I asked some questions. I wasn't going to move from Colorado, leave my mountains without some answers about some things. So talking to people, you might not be able to talk directly to someone, but in our discipline, and that's either in the industry or in academia, it's relatively small. There is someone that knows someone that knows someone that can give you the scoop on a company, a school, a program. So using those resources. That's fine. Hopefully that. Any other questions? How am I doing? Am I passing? Am I gonna kind of move forward to the dissertation, please? Huh?
At the end, you will know.
You're gonna kick me out the room for a while, talk about me behind my back, and then bring me back in.
Okay, so about like industry stuff, because someone had asked a question about it, you think about it, because I'm about to go into that field, that world. So I've been told, like, whenever I'm like looking at companies, to like reach out to them and like other, aside from like sending in my resume and my cover letter and all that stuff, but to reach out to whoever's like hiring or something, like what exactly do I say? Like I exist? Like, I don't know what to say to the people.
Yeah. So the question is, if you're wanting to reach out to someone and make a connection with them, how do you do that? If it's someone in industry, it could be someone in academia, making that initial contact. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can be bold and just LinkedIn is extremely powerful. So instead of just doing the regular LinkedIn, I like the LinkedIn with your connection, whatever that standard default message that LinkedIn has, you can provide more, because most people don't. I admit I don't all the time either, but you're providing like, I'm interested in your company, I want to connect with you, and just making it personalized. One thing too is after someone connects with you, just emailing them through LinkedIn and say thank you for that. Thank you for connecting. Brad, my partner, does that all the time, and people are like, wow, no one ever says thank you for connecting. He used to get messages back from people like, wow, wow, that's so unique. So doing that. And then also having other people introduce you to someone too, if they know that person or someone at the company. I've done that for students, just saying an email introduction saying, this is such one, wanted you to connect. Sometimes, sometimes even with, sometimes former students, they get back or sometimes they don't, but oftentimes most people will. But those are some ways to do it. But I think, just expressing being genuine and just saying, I'm interested in your company. I'm looking, to apply, looking for opportunities with your company. So I wanted to connect with you. If you have an opportunity or have time for a telephone call, why not ask? Or a video conference, I would like to do that. What's the harm in asking? And when I was your, age, I was much more shyer about that. But now, just do that. And now you have the technology that you can easily do that too. For me, it was writing in stone and then shipping the stone on the Pony Express too. So it was a little bit harder back then. So. Anything else?
I think that's it.
No?
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you all for joining online too. So,
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, you guys.